What is up, YouTube? My name is Cisco, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit differently than my normal videos. We're going to be taking a look at two things. We're going to take a look at my personal $1,600 PC build and how it performs in different games. And secondly, I'll be going over all the parts I selected and why. And more importantly, I'm going to show you what parts you can buy to get better performance than my PC at a cheaper price. And by cheaper, I mean less than $1,400 rather than $1,600. So if you like the frame rates I'm getting, definitely pay attention to the second half of this video. This video is only going to focus on what you need to buy to get the best possible build for less than $1,400. So I'm not going to be doing a step-by-step building guide, but I will be providing some really important tips on how to select the best parts. And if you guys want to see a full step-by-step guide on how to build a PC, then just leave a comment below and I'll do it. Anyways, let's get into it. So here are the games I decided to benchmark for my PC. I did want to include Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but I just couldn't get the game to recognize my graphics card, so unfortunately I had to leave that one out. One other thing I wanted to mention is I was not overclocking, so just keep that in mind before we move on. So planning out what you're going to buy is a big part of building your own PC. And figuring out what parts are compatible while also looking for the best price can be a little overwhelming. That's why I highly recommend using PCPartPicker.com. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I just love how useful their website is. You can pick from a wide variety of parts and easily compare prices. Plus, it will warn you if there's any potential compatibility issues. Now let's get into the build. So for my CPU, I went with the i7 9700K. Which has a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz and boosts up to 4.9 gigahertz. And I paired this with an Asus RTX 2060 Super. Now here's where you can make some major improvements for less money than what I paid. Rather than buying the i7 I got, I would recommend getting an i5 9600K instead. It basically has the same clock speed as the i7 9700K and can boost to 4.6 gigahertz. But costs $146 less, give or take, depending on what day it is. Then you can take that extra cash and buy a better graphics card like one of the new RTX 3070s. Now, anytime I'm comparing a CPU or a GPU, I use userbenchmark.com. I highly recommend this website. It easily lets you select two different components like a graphics card or a CPU and compare their relative performance. It also has a bunch of other helpful information like whether a CPU you're looking at has been superseded by a newer version. Now, you might be asking yourself, why didn't I just go with the i5? Well, that's because I knew I'd be upgrading to one of the newer 3000 series graphics card relatively quickly, most likely the 3080, and I wanted to limit the potential bottleneck, which brings me to my next helpful tip. If you're wondering whether or not your CPU that you want to buy is going to bottleneck your graphics card, then I would recommend heading over to PCBuilds.com and using their bottleneck calculator. It lets you choose a CPU and a graphics card and will calculate whether or not there's a bottleneck present, and if there is one, it'll tell you how severe it is. Just like the other websites mentioned in the video, I'll be leaving a link in the description below. You should go check them out. Now for the motherboard, CPU cooler, and memory, I definitely spent more money than necessary just because of looks. For example, the motherboard I picked was the Asus ROG Strix Z390F, which I managed to grab for around $210. On the other hand, the MSI MPG Z390 Gaming Plus runs for about $150. So you can save $60 there for something that will easily get the job done. Same goes for the Kraken X53 liquid cooler I picked and the 32 gig G.Skill Trident Zs, which cost me $130 and $135 respectively. If you don't have a very specific look you're going for, then I recommend trying to save some cash and going for something more like the Cooler Master Liquid ML240L, which only costs about $80 and is more than enough to keep your CPU cooled. As for the RAM, you can find some G.Skill Ripjaw 5s rated at the exact same speed, 3200 megahertz, for around $110, saving you another $25. Basically, I just paid more because I wanted some dumb RGB lights. So to recap, that's $135 you can save between the motherboard, CPU cooler, and the RAM, with no loss to gaming performance. And honestly guys, if you want to save some extra money, if all you're doing is gaming, you don't even need 32 gigs. I just need 32 gigs personally for some other stuff I run on my computer. Now this leaves us with only 3 components to talk about, and that is the power supply unit, the hard drive, and the case. As for the power supply unit, I went with the fully modular Cooler Master MWE Gold 650 watt. It's one of the cheapest gold rated 650 watt fully modular power supply units out there, so it's a great value buy and I highly recommend it for most builds. Plus, it only costs $100. Hard drive I went with was the Western Digital Blue SN550 1TB M.2 SSD. It only costs $105, and I don't think you can do much better than that. Now, the last place you can save some serious money is the case. Pay close attention to what you're actually buying when you get a case. For example, I went with the Fractal Design Meshify C mid-tower, which I got for around $99. The case only came with 2 fans with no RGB lighting. I, however, wanted at least 3 RGB fans. So I went ahead and bought 3 Cooler Master MF120R RGB fans for $60. What I should have done is bought the Corsair iQ 220T Airflow mid-tower, which comes with 3 Corsair SP120 RGB Pro fans, all for only $100. So I could have easily saved $60 and still gotten a good looking case with 3 RGB fans. So here's a summary of all the parts I got compared to all the parts I recommended. And remember that prices do fluctuate over time, so please don't get upset if you click on one of my affiliate links and you see that the price is slightly higher. Anyways, I'm interested to see who's planning on building a PC soon and what parts you guys are planning on buying. So leave a comment below and let me know. And obviously, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I do respond to all my comments eventually, some fast, some sooner than others. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, a like is always appreciated, and I will see you guys next time.